What's up, everybody? Soren Baker.
Amir Rahimi.
And today on The Great Debaters, we're getting into a little Eric B. and Rakim. A lot of people don't talk about Follow the Leader, but we're about to. The Great Debaters. Alright, Amir. So today on The Great Debaters, we're talking about the 3 best songs on Eric B. and Rakim's Follow the Leader. This is their second album, came out in '88. Undoubtedly, unquestionably, and without discussion, the best year in rap history. So with that being said, this is their second album. Do you remember how you got introduced to it, or what made you get into this one?
So with Eric B. and Rakim, like I've stated in the Big Daddy Kane video that came up a couple episodes ago, like with Big Daddy Kane, I had the very best of Big Daddy Kane, and KRS, I had a KRS-One retrospective CD, which were kind of more or less the greatest hits. With Eric B. and Rakim, I didn't have one of those CDs, so I was actually listening to them in order, which is something that I tried to do after I started to really like rap a lot, so in middle school. So Paid in Full was my first. I listened to that, loved it. Then came Follow the Leader, then Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em, so on and so forth. Yeah, so this I actually was listening in order. And Follow the Leader is an album I personally think did not live up as well. I don't think it stood the test of time as well as Paid in Full, nor do I think it is good as Paid in Full, but I still think it is a good sophomore album. So I just remember, man, Rakim, I think for me, I think his flow changed a little bit. I feel like it was a little faster on this album on some of the songs, in particular some of my picks, which I'll get into. I should probably get into one right now.
Let's do it.
Track 1, Follow the Leader being one of them. I thought this was a strong opener. I think Rakim was, like I said, a little quicker. He's still very potent. I think he is also, like we've stated in previous videos, with the LLs and the Big Daddy Kanes, he's also bragging and boasting a lot. Not a lot, to their effect, but he's still doing it. For example, one of my favorite lines from the song is where he says he can take a phrase that's rarely heard, flip it, and now it's a daily word. That, it doesn't sound too braggy, but he's basically saying he's influencing language and speech and the way people are talking, and that is very braggadocious. Yes. It's like the ego on these people, right? But no, Rakim, I think he's, the way that he presents it, and away from in a difference than Big Daddy Kane's or LL's or people like that, is I think Rakim is definitely a little more subtle with the way he says things, and also a lot of his metaphors, whether he's talking about Nam or whatever in the song, it's very thought out, and I think his vocabulary is also quite good. The things that he's saying and the way he's saying them, I think Rakim is just exceptional at it. And Follow the Leader, I think there's just a lot of those moments within that title track, and that's one of my top picks. Track 1, A Good Way to Start Off.
Yeah, that's also one of my picks, probably not surprisingly to anyone, but that line in particular is also my favorite in the song. And
it's great.
It also, to your point, I think it also shows the evolution of Rakim to where he was looked at as a poet, as this great guy dropping all the 5% knowledge and being a phenomenal poet, which he is. But I think on Follow the Leader, the song and the album, we get a little bit more of the menacing Rakim, to where he sounds more muscular, more menacing, more authoritative and angry, whereas before I got the sense on Paid in Full it was much more just a slow flow and charisma that he had, whereas I think, and maybe it also was in fact affected by the video with Follow the Leader, where it was the mafia stuff, and that was definitely something that I think made Rakim seem a little bit more tough, for lack of a better way to articulate it at the moment. But I think that Follow the Leader, the beat was great, and it was also faster, more muscular, more I think aggressive than a lot of the production on Paid in Full, which then in turn I think influenced Rakim to explore other aspects of his artistry as a lyricist, as a writer, and even on his delivery. Like Amir's saying, it's a little faster and the beat is faster, and or at least it feels faster, even if not technically the BPMs are faster. It feels faster. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely one of my picks, and I was great. I was very happy to hear that kicking off the album, and then the fact that they made it a single I thought was great too. So what's your next pick, Amir?
Yeah, and even like what I was saying earlier with the bragging and stuff, just the name of the album, Follow the Leader.
Right.
You know, just that in itself right there. And me and Soren were talking about it. The classic dope jackets on the cover is just like
phenomenal.
So great. So
still would
awesome.
like to have one.
That would be dope. But to touch upon what you were saying, what you were talking about, he was a little more menacing on this album. I'll get into another one of my picks, Lyrics of Fury, where I think Rakim was definitely a little more menacing there. Even throughout the song, he's saying a fearified freestyle, and he's talking about, I think he also brings up Friday the 13th in this one, and he has more like menacing lyrics as well, and darker lyrics, and the instrumental as well I think is also slightly darker, a little faster, and I think this is kind of like a precursor to what we see on their next album, Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em, on that title track, Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em, which is actually, it's definitely, like, for me, top 3 Eric B. and Rakim songs, but I think this is kind of like showing what he's capable of, because we already know he's an amazing lyricist, poet, all the above, and now he's kind of, whereas on Paid in Full he was kind of slower, on Follow the Leader he's going a little faster, and then like I said on Let the Rhythm Hit 'Em you see him go even faster and the beat is louder and faster, so I think this is like a good segue in between to that. And I think on Lyrics of Fury, just like the title of the song, Lyrics of Fury, that's what the song is. Right. It's like oftentimes with Rakim on his music, it's like, I know Rakim is a great artist, a great MC, but sometimes it gets so lost in like just his flow and how he's saying things, and I kind of forget, like, oh shit, he's actually spitting knowledge and like great lyrics as well, and I kind of forget that, and then I have to be like, wait a second, I have to rewind 10 seconds because I know he said something dope, so I have to hear it again, and then it's like, you know, there's like a bunch of those moments where I kind of get lost. So yeah, man, Lyrics Fury is another one I picked. It's a dope one.
That's also one of my picks, and in addition to what Amir was saying, I really think the beat on this song is phenomenal, the break beat they used, and then the fact that it's so aggressive, and it's like I always kind of thought of this as some, I don't know, like militaristic thing where it was like a tank or just some domination of an army just rolling over people. I don't know why I thought of that with this song when I was a little kid, but just hearing it, I just thought of somebody just destroying a landscape, and I thought that he did it vocally, verbally, and then sonically. The same trick was turned as well, and I just thought that this being the third song on the album, the fact that the first 3 songs just hit you back to back to back with such fury and furiousness, I thought was just great, man. And to hear in '88, this was also the year where people liked the LLs, even though Bigger and Deffer was '87, it carried over to '88. So you had like the LLs, Big Daddy Kane's. We started hearing more from Cool G Rap, KRS-One, Chuck D, like just these ferocious lyricists that were going all in over faster beats, rapping a little bit faster, and doing it in such a way where they were showing their verbal and lyrical dexterity and how they were able to articulate it. Kumo D, of course, as well, was one of them. But it was just amazing to hear this and to hear an artist that was so revered being able to show these different elements of his art and his mastery of rhyme. It was just great to hear. So pick number 3, Amir.
Microphone Fiend, man. This might be the first album that I've done, or that we've done, that all my picks were track 1, 2, and 3. I'm not sure, I'm not keeping track, but it might be.
I'm pretty sure it is for me.
Because
this is also my 3rd pick.
Dude, track 1, 2, 3, I think, in my opinion, are clearly the most dominant songs of the album. At least my ear, what I prefer, the faster pace, etc., and just the way that they're executed. Microphone Fiend, I don't know if it was on a video game or something, but I remember hearing this before I started liking rap. Maybe it was on a video game or a movie or something, but I remember hearing this when I was younger, and then I picked this album up in like 7th, maybe 8th grade latest. So it was pretty early on in me listening to rap, but that beat I had heard before. Anyways, that nostalgia factor kicked in a little bit, but also just the things Rakim is saying on this song again. I think one thing that I really like about the song is also the title, Microphone Fiend. You know, he's craving the mic, he's craving, you know, being an MC, etc. But instead of doing something negative, because usually fiend is associated with, you know, doing drugs or craving, you know, something negative like that, right? Whereas he kind of flips it and makes it more positive. Instead of melting cones, he was melting microphones.
Instead of cones of ice cream.
Exactly, and then he's saying, I get a craving like a fiend for nicotine, but I don't need a cigarette, know what I mean? And then he's saying, you know, other things about smoking dope, but every kind of negative thing, he's flipping it to how he wants to MC instead, or how, you know, it's 12 and feed me hip hop and I start trembling, you know, like gremlin. Like, these are things that he's kind of taking that that drug stereotype and making it into like being an MC, and I think that's very clever. And Rakim is just showing how it's done, and I think this is also not only someone who's being clever with his raps, but it also shows that he truly respects the hip hop culture, you know. And I think that's also something that was more dominant like in the 80s and 90s and obviously the 70s, of people respecting, you know, the culture and everything. And I think maybe that's gotten a little lost over the years, but I think Rakim is really showing how much he cares about the rapping, the MCing, Eric B, you know, doing what he's doing throughout the album as well. And then also the cherry on top is the end, where you get the beat the whole time, and at the end you get kind of like the little breakdown, and then the microphone. So it's I think it's a special song, man. This is actually probably my favorite song of the 3.
It's also my favorite. Microphone Fiend is also my favorite song on Follow the Leader. And I doubt this is it, but maybe you had heard that beat from X-Clan, because they used it a little bit after them with Graham Verbalizer, What Time Is It? I doubt that that's where you heard it, but it's possible.
It's possible.
But when X-Clan used it a couple years later, I was like, oh man, that's awesome, because this was my favorite song on the album, my favorite beat on the album, and I liked how, you know, Rakim, like Amir was saying, was using all these descriptive ways of explaining and dedicating his devotion to rap and rapping. And I just thought it was amazing the way that he was doing all this and flipping all these things. And, you know, this to me was a song that showed the best of Rakim in '88, because I thought it was the best song on his album.
Yeah.
But I also thought it was more in line with Paid in Full, which probably also is why I liked it a lot, because Rakim is more, the beat, you know, has the same type of feel to it, and then Rakim also is rapping more slow and in pocket, as opposed to the faster, more aggressive, which clearly I love as well. But this one, I think it just stands out because of, he had, I would argue, lyrics of fury just executed in a more classic Rakim way on Microphone Fiend, which made me love it. And then I did like how it was sandwiched in between these two super aggressive songs, that it was more kind of laid back and not as forceful. So for all those reasons, I love Microphone Fiend, and I can't articulate enough how much I love the beat. So that, you know, the beats are always very important to me, because that's clearly 50% of the song. But that one in particular just stands out to me as a phenomenal sonic masterpiece. So those are my 3 picks and Amir's 3 picks. But what about you guys? What are your top 3 songs on Eric B. and Rakim's Follow the Leader? Be sure to hit us up in the comment section and like, subscribe, and share to both Unique Access and the Rappin' and Snackin'. And we'll be sure to get back to you guys. I'm Soren Baker.
Amir Rahimi.
The Great Debaters. Thank you, Eric B. and Rakim, for this one.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the DOC, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Raps with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.